And as we dive in right there, we do have a little bit of a couplet. You can kind of see it right here. Let me go ahead and draw on here for you. And you'll be able to see it would be right in this general area right there. That would be potentially where we could have at least a little couplet. It's not a strong rotating signature, but there is a little bit of a couplet here. So in between Crystal and Oswego, again, moving north and east. So if you're in Kinney, Genesee, that's where this storm is heading, towards the Route 19 corridor, especially in and around Genesee, the New York State-Pennsylvania line. So definitely seek shelter if you are in the path of this storm. Let's get back to that radar. And again, this storm continues to move to the north and east at a very quick clip. You can see right where that couplet is right here. You can see a little bit of a hook echo within this line, a little bit of a bow echo. That would be a signature where we do have at least some rotating within this line. Getting northward, look at this nasty squall line that's currently making its way through Allegheny County. Anywhere from areas in and around Rushford, down towards New Hudson, Black Creek, down towards Friendship. Boy, conditions certainly have deteriorated with this squall line making its way through. And again, even where we do not have a tornado warning in place, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in place here in Allegheny County, with still the potential for damaging wind gusts, potentially gusting 60 to possibly even as high as 70 miles per hour. You can see some of the latest lightning strikes that are currently coming in. And as we do expand out, we do have many areas still under a severe thunderstorm warning, including in and around downtown Buffalo. However, you can see, notice the lightning not as numerous as you get further west, and that's because conditions are improving as of right now. As we throw the radar back on there for you, the main line again stretches from in and around Batavia, now pushing through Batavia, now just to the east of Batavia. And again, we're going to go ahead and dive in and show you some of the communities right now. So again, right along the 90 here, just to the east of Batavia. Look at the red showing up. Stafford. Boy, conditions are really rough there with heavy rain, frequent cloud to ground lightning, potentially damaging wind gusts. And that line extends further to the south. You get in and around Bethany, Roanoke, in and around Wright's Corner. Again, even further south. Now we're getting into northern Allegheny County. You get in and around Buffalo Corners, LaGrange. Again, look at some of the weather. And here we are again. This is Wyoming County right now. 20A between Perry and Warsaw. Look at that line of red showing up, showing some intense rain, maybe even some small hail. Perry, yeah, heads up. This is heading your way and eventually towards the Genesee Valley in and around Mount Morris. Again, traveling further south. As you get around Gainesville, Castile, conditions are deteriorating here at the moment as this squall line currently makes its way in. Genesee Falls. And again, now we're getting down into Allegheny County, and you can see as you get around Rushford, Houghton, in and around Belfast, as we get towards Black Creek, Friendship. Again, look at all the lightning in and around Friendship here at the moment. Certainly some intense rain. You get towards Boulevard and down towards the New York State-Pennsylvania line, and again, further to the south, especially now into areas of Potter County. Again, look at that intense line that is signifying potentially not only high winds, but it's also got a hail signature in there as well. And you can see as severe thunderstorm warnings continue to update towards Steuben County and the Finger Lakes. Again, these storms are moving at a fairly good clip. We'll put this into motion. You can see how quickly we went from nothing earlier this afternoon to this healthy batch of heavy rain and embedded thunderstorms over the last only hour and a half. And a lot of that, again, will be moving out of the area over the next 15 to 20 or so minutes. So we will see conditions improve here as we go through the remainder of this afternoon and into tonight. But of course, when we have a tornado warning in place, we come at you with wall-to-wall coverage. And you can still see, especially here into northern Pennsylvania, this is where we do still have a tornado warning in progress. As we get through portions of Potter County especially, and as we kind of zoom in, I'm going to stop the radar, and you can see where the worst of the weather is currently located. And I was just mentioning just a few minutes ago, again, the 449 corridor there, including Genesee, that's where the worst of the conditions were heading. And boy, yeah, look at all the frequent cloud to ground lightning we're seeing right in and around Genesee. That's where we saw also that couplet with the potential for some of those winds that could be rotating. And again, as I drop the radar, you're going to be able to see once again where we do have that red polygon in place, where we do still have not only a severe thunderstorm warning in place, but we do have this tornado warning in place for at least another 9 minutes. Would it be surprised, though, as this storm continues to lift north, that we see this warning eventually clip portions of southeastern Allegheny County? So, again, if you're in and around Independence, Whitesville, and then pushing into western Steuben County, West Union, McGraws, these are the areas that should certainly take shelter as this storm, and you can see where we have all this frequent cloud-to-ground lightning. That is where the worst of the weather is. Again, Spring Mills, that's where this storm is currently heading in your direction. So please seek shelter as this storm does mean business. Now, as we continue to expand out again, look at all this frequent lightning that we are seeing here in Allegheny County. Again, look at all the lightning strikes that we are currently seeing. So whether or not we're seeing a tornado out of this, again, this is certainly a dangerous storm with that frequent cloud-to-ground lightning, the potential for damaging straight-line winds, and of course, the very heavy rain that we're also seeing out of this. Now, as we do expand northward, again, technically, we do still have a severe warning in place for Buffalo, but it looks as though the worst of the weather, the severe weather, is now shifting out, although seeing some very heavy rain as you get in and around Clarence, up towards East Clarence and points further northward, but especially just south of Clarence. You get in and around Lancaster, stretching just to the east of Lancaster, that stretch of Route 20. Boy, certainly seeing some blinding rain out of some of this activity, as well as in and around Elma at the moment. Marilla, that's where this batch of heavier rain will be heading. And as we continue to travel south, you can see in and around East Aurora, Orchard Park, certainly seeing some pretty nasty weather. And then points further south, West Falls, seeing conditions really deteriorate. And occasionally, even out of some of this activity, we have some isolated flashes of lightning, some rumbles of thunder, but again, the heaviest of weather certainly shifting to the east. Again, now begin to make its way towards Rochester and the Genesee Valley, but still, especially as you get into areas of Allegheny County and into Potter County. So again, kind of widening out for you. If you are just tuning in, you can see some of the rough weather that we've seen move in here over the last hour to hour and a half. We're going to drop the radar, kind of allow you to see where we do have the current warnings in place. All of Western New York is under a severe thunderstorm watch into this evening, but it's really the next half hour. I think this is where we are dealing with the potential severe weather, where we do have severe thunderstorm warnings in place, again, where all the yellow is located, but it's into northern Pennsylvania, and especially where you see all this lightning now in this particular portion of this red polygon. This is where we have a tornado warning in place, but especially where we have all this frequent lightning. That's where we do have a potential not only damaging wind field, but also that potential for the radar indicating some rotation. There has nothing been as far as spotter reports, but again, the radar, as we showed you earlier, is showing some rotation, especially in this portion of the line that is now beginning to make its way into portions of southern Allegheny County. In fact, as we drop the radar here, we do not have a tornado warning here, but again, the 19 corridor here, whether it's in and around Willing, Independent, Whitesville, Paynesville, this is the area where we're certainly seeing some pretty nasty weather. I do want to throw those velocities back on there and see if, again, where we can see possibly a bit of a couplet. And again, what we are looking for is where the closest we can get bright greens to meet the darker reds. With green, we have wind going towards the radar. With red, we have wind going away from the radar. So you can kind of see here where we have some of these couplets. It's not a very tight signature. It's not a very impressive signature. So if we do have a tornado in this, it would be a weak one. But nonetheless, we got winds going this way out ahead of this activity, and we have winds going this way. And again, it would be within these areas where potentially we can get that spin up. And right now, again, there is a weak rotating signature out of some of this activity. So something we'll continue to monitor here. Again, we do have that tornado warning in place for portions of Potter County, at least here for another few minutes. We have numerous severe thunderstorm warnings, though, in place across many areas of western New York. But let's go ahead and dive right back into the radar. And again, look at this impressive line. It's this line. Within this line, you're going to have intense rain. It's anywhere from Portageville, Pike, down into areas of Allegheny County, again, in and around Houghton, and it points further south, Belfast, Angelica. Conditions certainly have deteriorated here over the last 15 or so minutes, if not even sooner. And then look at all the frequent cloud to ground lightning. Wellsville, you're also dealing with some blinding rain. And as you get into areas of extreme southern Allegheny County towards Genesee and into northern Potter County, again, look at some of the rough weather we see here, especially just south of Genesee as you get along that 449 corridor into Potter County and then extending further south. Again, the line just made its way through Sweden. It's heading towards Ulysses and Telescope. That's where conditions will be deteriorating here as we get further into this Sunday afternoon, where much of the country has been dealing with some severe weather. Here in western New York and northern Pennsylvania, we're certainly getting into the action this afternoon. But again, conditions I do think will improve once we see this batch clear over the next 15 to 20 minutes. So again, if you are just tuning in, we do have numerous severe thunderstorm warnings in place for many areas of western New York, but especially where we have all this frequent cloud to ground lightning. This county, Wyoming County, pushing into Allegheny County, and at least here for another few minutes, we do have this tornado warning in place in Potter County. But again, especially where we have all this frequent lightning, this is where potentially we could be looking at a weak tornado. But even outside of this, the reason for these severe thunderstorm warnings is because, of course, it's been a very windy day. There's a lot of wind energy in the atmosphere, and we're going to go ahead and actually see what are some of the latest wind gusts across the region. And you're going to notice here that some of the gusts that we've seen today, upwards of 45 miles per hour. These are the current gusts. We're still dealing with windy conditions, and with so much wind energy in the atmosphere, it doesn't take all that much for these heavier thunderstorms to pull down that wind energy. And that's why even where we don't have that tornado warning in place, the potential is there for straight line winds that certainly could do a number with potential winds gusting 60 to 65 miles per hour. So again, if you are just tuning in, we do have numerous severe thunderstorm warnings in place, and we do have a tornado warning in place down into northern Pennsylvania. We can see we have this squall line that is currently pushing through portions of western New York. It is moving at about 70 miles per hour. So as we put this map into motion, you can see it's not really sticking around all too long. And after this, we do not expect any severe weather. So while we do have that severe thunderstorm watch into this evening, I would imagine that will be dropped here fairly quickly once this line of showers and thunderstorms does exit western New York. And ultimately, it is on the verge of doing so. But let's go ahead and dive in, give you the latest information where some of the worst of the weather currently is. Again, conditions are beginning, still dealing with some very heavy rain here into Orleans County, but the main line is now making its way into Monroe County towards Rochester. Same could be said for Batavia. Again, the main line now beginning to move into southwestern Monroe County, pushing into Livingston County. However, if you are in Batavia, we still got a pretty decent line. We're not registering any thunder or lightning out of this activity at the moment, but there's still a pretty decent line of heavy rain that is making its way. And again, this is moving to the east as well at a pretty good clip. So Batavia, you're dealing with some heavy rain at the moment. There'll be one more pretty healthy line, though, as we go through the next half hour to 40 or so minutes. All right, let's go ahead and continue to travel around now as we continue to show you this line as it continues to make its way again through the region. Wyoming County still dealing with some very nasty weather here on the very eastern flank of the county. So Perry down towards Castile. But again, even here, conditions will improve with just that little line that will still make its way through here as we go through the next hour or so. And again, the worst of the weather at the moment is into areas of Allegheny County. And as we really dive in, you can see whether it's in and around Granger, down towards Allen, Grove, and then as we get further south, West Almond. Again, now this is where the worst of the weather is currently located as it's making its way east along the 86 expressway here, Almond, and eventually towards Hornell. That's where conditions will deteriorate here over the next 15 to 20 minutes. Alfred, it's knocking on your door here over the next couple of minutes. Heavy rain, frequent cloud to ground lightning, same for Andover. And again, points further to the south. And I can't rule out maybe even some small hail out of some of this activity. Check out the latest warnings here as we get an update, because we did have that tornado warning, which was in place until 3:15. At the moment, that warning has been discontinued, but we are going to stay here for a few more minutes just to give you the latest information as we track these severe thunderstorms that are still, again, pushing through portions of the viewing area. But at the moment, as we do expand out, there are no longer any tornado warnings that are currently in place, but we do still have severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place across portions of extreme eastern Genesee County, eastern Wyoming County, still across Allegheny County. That's really where we have some of the worst of the weather currently pushing on through. And while we no longer have a tornado warning in place in Potter County, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in place here for the eastern third of the county, and that was just issued moments ago. And this severe thunderstorm, again, still for that cell that did potentially have some of that rotation depicted by radar, that's the same cell that could still be producing potentially damaging winds. Again, it is moving to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour, and along with that, some reports potentially of quarter-size hail. So again, as we expand out, you can currently see where the latest warnings are in place. Notice in Buffalo, while we are still dealing with some wet weather, we no longer have a severe thunderstorm warning in place. So certainly some good news there. And as expected, I do think conditions will continue to improve. I do want to show you one real quick thing. Let's see if there's any latest spotter reports that have come in the last few minutes. I believe we just have some wind reports, and these are general wind reports that have come in throughout this afternoon. Latest wires were reported down earlier today in and around Forestville, and that was with that gusty southerly wind. We even now saw a 66-mile-per-hour gust there officially at the Dunkirk station. So certainly, again, a lot of wind energy in the atmosphere, and it's that wind energy that these storms have been able to tap into throughout this afternoon, and why we do have these severe thunderstorm warnings in place. Again, at the moment, we do not have a tornado warning in place, but sometimes these storms, they've been weakening at some moments, but then rapidly strengthening as we've been tracking here over the last hour and a half. So we're just going to stay here for a few more moments as I let my director know, again, staying here just to continue to monitor the situation, as we are still dealing with some pretty rough weather making its way through portions of the viewing area. So let's go and throw that radar back on there for you. I'm going to quiet things down, take off that lightning. Again, lots of lightning out of some of this activity, but we're going to really dive in, especially where right now we have some of the worst of the weather. And again, in and around Granger, look at this red showing up. Intense rain, frequent cloud to ground lightning. Grove, and again, further south, West Almond. Diving in here, where we do have, you see where some of this white is showing up, some of these white returns, these pixels, if you will. This is where we're actually getting hail signatures. So there is the potential for some hail out of some of this activity, along with that heavy rain, with that frequent cloud to ground lightning, and the potential for some of the damaging winds. You can see, again, look at the latest warnings that are popping up now east of our viewing area as this line continues to race to the east. Again, at a very good clip at about 60 to 70 miles per hour. And you can see how large this line is, again, stretching now from the Lake Ontario shoreline all through now the Genesee Valley and down into northern Pennsylvania. And it extends actually even further to the south. I do want to show you what's happening upstream because, again, while we are dealing with some pretty rough weather at the moment, especially the eastern third of western New York, as we do look what's upstream, things do settle down quite a bit as we kind of change this radar look. And notice as we look off to our west, there are a few scattered showers, especially once you get out towards Put-in Bay and just to the west of Cleveland. But overall, these are just garden variety showers. So while we do have that severe thunderstorm watch until this evening, that will get discontinued. It's only the next 10 minutes or so where we are going to be dealing with potential severe weather as this line is in the process of exiting western New York. But you could see, again, stretching anywhere from the Lake Ontario shoreline all the way through the Genesee Valley and then down into northern Pennsylvania. And this line extends even further to the south throughout all of Pennsylvania and then even down into the mid-Atlantic, the central Appalachians, down into western Virginia and into Virginia. So a very impressive line making its way through. And as we continue to expand in, again, real quickly, show you the latest warnings that we have in place. We do still have severe thunderstorm warnings in place. We did have a couple of tornado warnings in place in northern Pennsylvania just a bit ago. Those have been discontinued. But again, with this thunderstorm now beginning to exit the viewing area, moving out of western New York, conditions will be improving here as we go through this afternoon. Make sure you tune in tonight at 6 and 11. We'll have the latest information for you as we track the weather here heading into the upcoming week. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everybody.